Thanks so much. Well, some big and exciting games this weekend in the NFL as the league tries to move past its PR problems. So let's bring in someone who knows the NFL culture firsthand. Phil McConkey played 6 years in the league, including for the Super Bowl champion New York Giants. He's live today in San Diego, where he also runs a broker-dealer firm. Phil, welcome back. It's nice to speak with you today.
Thank you, Scott. You mentioned those great games yesterday, and there were a few of them.
Yeah, certainly. Does that help the league sort of get behind this PR cloud that's been hanging over it?
Well, I think it's a start, and I think fans look at this, and in one respect, they say, listen, this is entertainment. This is the one respite I get from the harsh realities of my daily life, and let me have 3 hours on Sunday to watch my team in peace. However, there's a flip side to that. There's great privilege associated with the NFL, being a part of the NFL, a player. With that great privilege comes great responsibility. So the NFL, as Roger Goodell said the other day, really needs to get this right, and I think they will.
You know, there's been some suggestion over the weekend that Roger, who held this news conference late last week, may not have the level of support across all of ownership that some people believe. Do you think that is, in fact, the case? Do you think he can get past this?
I think this is one incident. I think that he will be able to get past this. Now, remember, people talk about the fact that he makes $44 million a year. And one of the reasons is he deflects that criticism from the 32 owners onto himself. He is their representative. When a big star gets in trouble like Adrian Peterson and Ray Rice, these individual owners, they have a lot invested in these star players, so they lobby the commissioner. And here's a guy who was in a no-win situation by the other day in that press conference. There's nothing he could have said that would pacify the people that are calling for his head. But I think in the long run, the NFL will be a social barometer, and they'll take action and steps to help prevent domestic violence, just like they did with the Michael Vick situation and animal cruelty. There are less animals being harmed today because of that situation. And just last year, Richie Incognito, the bullying aspect of what happened in that Miami Dolphins locker room, the NFL has put a great light on bullying and is helping to prevent it. One
of the statements you make in the notes that I have in front of me, Phil, is that the players should stop complaining. Why do you make it? What do you mean?
Well, what I mean by that is the players have complained and they've been down on Roger Goodell. There's an outright hate of the man because he's judge and jury the way the current system is set up. However, the players of today, the National Football League Players Association, they were in a strike not too long ago, and they had a new collective bargaining agreement. And if they felt so strongly about Roger Goodell not being judge and jury, well, then they should have bargained for more power, but that means they would have had to give up some money, and they weren't going to do that. So I think what's happening right now is Roger Goodell, the commissioner's job, will probably put that player discipline in another area, start to include the players. I think he'll get together with DeMaurice Smith, the head of the Players Association, and come up with a system that's going to rectify the current situation that we're in.
I've got a former player on our panel today, Phil, as well. Pete Najarian played in the league for a number of years. He's one of our regular traders. Pete, it is another weekend where there's a new development. People are now, taking issue with the way that the Ravens themselves handled the Ray Rice situation, and there are even new developments regarding that side of the story. But what about Phil's points?
Very uncomfortable. And I think Phil is right, and he's on target talking about Roger Goodell and the path that he has to lay in front of him. But, Phil, don't you agree that maybe Roger Goodell, this does not start at the pro level? I think he's got to drill down and have some influence at the college level as these players are developing at that level coming up towards the NFL, because I don't think this is just an NFL problem, and obviously we know some of the history of what's going on in college football as well. Does he have enough influence to be able to go and penetrate the college game and try to even go lower, even into the high school game, to allow kids to understand what they can and cannot do?
Pete, that is a great point, and they absolutely can achieve that just as they have with head injuries. You see that that's an NFL problem with concussions. Well, it goes down to the Little League level. The NFL is spending great resources on trying to rectify that problem from Little League, high school, college, all the way into the pros. And if they can do that with head injuries and concussions, they could do it with the deportment of players that get to the NFL. And Pete, I wish we were more talking about what it was either you or your brother months ago before the draft were extolling the virtues of one Kelvin Benjamin from Florida State.
And
you watched him last night. 6'5", 240. The guy, if I was that big, I'd be against the law. I mean, the guy's a great player. Too bad we're not spending more time on that and not on this terrible situation.
Phil, before we let you go, given, your day job now, I'd love to talk to you a little bit about the market. Your view of Alibaba on Friday and just sort of what its context should be in the market as a whole right now?
Yeah, Scott, I think that Jack Ma did a masterful job in shaping this situation. It was a financing event, but it was a branding event, maybe even more so. I think he positioned this IPO so that everybody won. The company won, the banks won, the New York Stock Exchange won, the investors, made a pop. And I think that there's such goodwill towards that company right now. I think it will buoy the market. When you look at the $22 billion that they raised, the $8 billion that Yahoo raised, we could see on our side of it the M&A activity and the capital markets activity to continue the upside for the next 12 to 24 months, a lot of it off of the money that was raised in this IPO last Friday.
You feel pretty good overall about where the markets stand today, Phil?
Well, today, notwithstanding, but I think, you got a picture of the next 12 to 24 months. And, we look back to 1993, 94, Netscape. When that IPO, everybody thought that was the top, or Google, when they came out. But there's that IPO will spur activity, I think, for the next 12 to 24 months. And I can see us continuing along this path for a little while longer.
Phil, thanks for coming on today. Appreciate it very much. We'll talk to you soon.
Scott, thanks so much.
All right, Phil McConkey. Coming up, what does Main Street really think about big business, and which industries